Thank you, Madam Speaker. This is an egregious bill, so I guess this is our last chance to stop it. $50 million at least in unfunded mandates to the counties. $50 million. Why unfunded mandates? Because it's not a priority for the General Assembly to put in the general budget. It's foisted on the counties, at least $50 million. And that was for clearing a backlog potentially of I think at least 2 million voters. We don't know exactly who's going to need this, and especially given the way the bill is written, that it's going to be expanded easily, if not by interpretation, and interpretation given to executive agencies. So we're not only just taking the appropriations aspect and then giving it over to the executive branch, we're giving the legislative part of our duties over and then giving it to the executive branch. So this bill is once again, is saying that the General Assembly is essentially a rubber stamp for the executive. That's what this bill says. We are going to give all of the aspects of this new 24-page bill that the citizens have not had a chance to talk about. Yeah, we've had amendments and they supposedly would, but the citizens have not had a chance to talk about this bill. It should have gone back to the citizens. And so we have basically what looks like it's unworkable, definitions that are infinitely expandable, and that's not unintentional. There are no reasonable gun measures. There are no reasonable solutions. There are only step functions in this. $1 to $2 billion in damage was done in political violence by the party that wants to get rid of your means to self-defense. And I wanted to talk about it. I didn't get a chance to talk about it. But every death is a tragedy. And if you want to look at where these deaths occur, where these mass shootings occur, they occur in gun-free zones. Gas-operated, semi-automatic firearm, just a couple of them. Gun-free zones, most of them. That's where these occur. Gun-free zones, gun-free zones, gun-free zones. So let's look at the history, because one of the reasons that we come up here and we say that we should not go down this road is the fifth that of our Declaration of Independence for the people in this country who do not just want to be shoved into becoming tax-paying widgets for a totalitarian empire. Let's look at the Ottoman. In 1911, the Ottoman Empire under the Young Turks enforced a firearm registration. And then starting in 1915, the Ottoman Empire executed the Armenian genocide, killing approximately 1.5 million. That's bigger than 207. In 1929, Communist Soviet Union imposed a strict gun control, centralizing firearms under the state. From 1929 to 1953, an estimated 20 million people, not statistics, people, dissidents, kulaks, ethnic minorities, were exterminated via execution. Most of their crime was being property owners. In 1933, the Nazi regime began tightening the Weimar era gun laws. In 1938, the weapons law banned Jews from owning firearms, following the Kristallnacht while arming Nazi loyalists. We know the result of that: millions. Not statistics, people, family, friends, neighbors. Is a semi-automatic firearm dangerous? Yes. Where is a semi-automatic firearm dangerous? In the monopoly of power held by the state. In 1975, the Khmer Rouge imposed immediate disarmament, confiscating weapons from civilians as part of the radical communist restructuring of society. And between 1975 and 1979, approximately 1.7 to 2 million Cambodians, about a quarter, 25% of the population, died from execution, forced labor, or starvation. Not statistics, people, family, friends, neighbors. Pre-1994, Rwanda had a strict firearms regulation with few civilians legally armed. In 100 days, starting in April 1994, Hutu extremists killed around 800,000 primarily with machetes. None of them were saying, wow, good thing we don't have any guns. 800,000 citizens, family, friends, neighbors, killed by gun control. In 1935, the Chinese Communist Party, led by Mao, began considering, Chinese Communist, that word keeps coming up again, communist, began consolidating control in revolutionary base areas, enforcing strict firearm restrictions on civilians. And what is that communist thing? Oh yeah, that's the abolition of private property. From 1949 to 1950s and beyond, Mao's regime killed millions during campaigns like land reform. Some of you will be excited about this. 1 to 2 million landlords were executed. 1962, 15 to 45 million deaths via famine and purges. The Cultural Revolution caused 1 to 2 million more families, friends, neighbors, not statistics. In the 1960s, Guatemala military government tightened firearms restrictions, requiring registration and limiting civilian ownership. And during the 70s and 80s, the military killed or disappeared 200,000 family, friends, neighbors. After seizing power in 1971, Idi Amin's regime quickly disarmed civilians. In 1971, his rule resulted in 300 to 500,000 deaths, family, friends, neighbors. In the former Yugoslavia, civilian ownership was heavily regulated, and during the Bosnian War, 1992 to 1995, these are not that old, approximately 100,000 people were killed in the Srebrenica massacre. Myanmar's civilian population has long been subject to strict gun control laws, and then starting in 2016 to 2017, Myanmar military launched a brutal campaign against Rohingya, killing at least 10,000, displacing 700,000 in what the UN labeled as a genocide, family, friends, neighbors. We can go back to our own history. I mentioned it earlier. 4,743 victims, 3,446 black, 1,297 white. Crime, mostly being Republican. How about the Trail of Tears? Andrew Jackson, progressive Democrat, 60,000 people, 5 civilian tribes between 1830 and 1850, and the additional 1,000 Native Americans and their enslaved African Americans that were ethnically cleansed by the United States government. Family, friends, neighbors. That's usually where you see if the government says you don't need a gun, you need a gun. If the party of political violence says you don't need a gun, you need a gun. Wounded Knee Massacre, 300 Indians, 25 cavalry. Sand Creek Massacre. Under the promise of peace, 150 to 200 people, family, friends, neighbors. Let's look at mass killings involving vehicles. Nice, France, killed 86 and injured 434. Berlin, Germany, killing 12, injuring 56. Charlottesville, North Virginia, killing 32, Heather, and injuring 19 others. Toronto, Canada, killed 11, injured 15. Barcelona, Spain, killing 14 and injuring over 100. London, UK, killing 4, injuring 50. New York City, in 2017, killing 8, injuring 11. Are we going to now ban automobiles? This regime has offered to provide licenses for people here illegally to be able to drive. It's clearly the more lethal weapon of choice. Waukesha, Wisconsin, killing 6, injuring 62. Jerusalem, Israel, killing 4, injuring 17. Stockholm, Sweden, killing 5, injuring 14. What's the most deadly? Where do these fall? Well, they fall somewhere between lawnmowers and buckets. That's where ARs fall. ARs fall between lawnmowers and buckets. So next year, I suppose we're going to have...
Representative DeGraff, you have 1 minute remaining.
Can I have my other 40 seconds? Are we going to ban gas-powered semi-automatic lawnmowers? What if you have a push lawnmower? Are we going to have robots? What's the limit to the number? I've got a whole list here. Stabbings, machetes, Rwandan genocide, railway station attack. Do you think anybody really thinks that being killed 800,000 to 1 million people being killed by machetes? What would have stopped that 800,000 from being killed? Probably if they had a gun. So history is written by the victors, remembered by the vanquished, and erased by those looking to repeat it. Bills like SB 003 ignore history. They erase history in favor of an emotionally manipulated set of statistics in order to erase the history. And the true history is that the genocide, the true danger of these firearms is when the government, when the state has a monopoly on force.
Representative DeGraff, your time has expired.
Vote no.
Representative